Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Americans want change. We want our country to be the country that it's supposed to be. And people are waking up. People from all walks of life right now are waking up and saying that, you know what? We're not the problem here. The people aren't the problem. It's the ruling class that are the problem, right? It's the wealthy. It's the rich. It's the billionaires. It's the oligarchs. It's the politicians. It's the lobbyists. They're the people who are corrupting our nation. They're the people who are making our lives even harder. And we're tired of it.
Let me tell y'all something that grinds my gear is when politicians and ruling class folks don't listen to working class people about the things that we need. You know what we need? Healthcare. You know what we need? A living wage. You know what we need? Retirement.
See, it's not asking for much, right? These are the basic necessities, things that should be human rights at this point in civilization. America is the only first world country that doesn't have a nationalized or universal healthcare system for the people. It's not that we're doing something better, it's that we're doing something far worse. The argument may have been for a long time, right? That, well, we don't want to pay the kind of taxes that'll pay for a universal healthcare system. That's going to cost too much. But what happens now when we're watching healthcare premiums for people all over the country go up by 100%, 200%? You know, people who are going from paying $900 a month to $2,700 a month. And that's just the premiums that you're paying. That doesn't include the deductible. That doesn't include the limited network that you can actually use your healthcare in. So I would argue, and many economists would also argue, that it actually would be far less expensive for the average consumer, the average citizen in the United States, just to pay for a nationalized healthcare system where the government can leverage its power to negotiate prices down. The other thing, the livable wage. People often ask what a livable wage is. A livable wage in America is well over $100,000 a year right now. What is a livable wage? A livable wage is you being able to afford your housing, afford food, afford your bills, be able to save a little bit, be able to have a life. But in many states in this country right now, just to have a comfortable life, a livable life in this country, costs at least $100,000. But when the median wage in this country is $54,000, who do we blame for that? Number one, I'll always say that you have to blame the American people first, because we let this mess get to where it is. But there's been a concerted effort over the past decades to poison the well when it comes to the conversation about unions. American workers need unions. All the regulations and rights that we have as workers were hard fought for. They didn't just appear overnight. They were the result of hundreds, thousands of hours of people on picket lines. People risking their livelihoods and jobs to go on strikes. People who risk their reputation and their livelihoods to get into politics and push for the rights of the working class people in the United States. And we need to remember this. We need to remember that these things are slowly being taken away with deregulation, by cutting government programs that are put in place to protect workers and workers' rights, to make sure that not only are you making enough money to live a life, which is becoming harder and harder in this country, but to make sure that you can actually get home safe and go to the doctor when you need to for your annual checkups, so you don't have some kind of preventable illness that puts you in an early grave. And of course, retirement. They are raising the retirement age in America considerably. They are raising the retirement age in America to 80 or 85 years old. They just want you to work. And they don't want to pay you for it. That's the thing. They want us to give all of our labor, all of our time, a work schedule that's always increasing, and have no time for yourselves. No time for your family. No time to actually get out there and live a life. They want you to get to the point, get to the age where you retire, and then you just kind of die. And you're not going to be a drain on the government's resources. A government that has no problem throwing money in every direction except towards the people. And more retirement is becoming just a dream that is not based in reality, as people who are in their 20s and 30s can't even save anything anymore. You can't go out there and find a job that has that livable wage that allows you to put money into your 401k, that allows people to invest not just into their finances, but into themselves to prepare themselves later on in life. People are locked out of the equity that comes with home ownership because homes are so expensive that the kind of wage that you need and able to get a mortgage, unless you have a significant amount of money as a gift from a relative, is just out of reach for the vast majority of Americans. When you take these things into account, retirement is just not there. Retirement is something of the past. Retirement is a luxury in a time where people can't afford luxuries.
That's not tied directly to us living in poverty for the rest of our lives in order to get to 65, 67 damn years old to be able to enjoy a life. How about a 32-hour work week? How about air that we can breathe? Water that doesn't have toxins in it? It's not that difficult to understand, but the things that help working class folks directly goes against corporations and greedy billionaires. And that's why they don't care about it. They don't care to serve the needs of working class folks, because at the end of the day, we don't have enough money to fiddle into their pockets and help them become billionaires along with the rich people that there already is. So they're going to continue to play us and pit sides one against the other, instead of saying, hey, you know what would be beneficial if we provided a good education to all youngins instead of depending on what zip code you live in. We're going to provide universal health care to all parents. They don't care about that because that doesn't help them gain more money. So they're using us against each other to get there. Anyway, if you think that it ain't working, then call it out and tell politicians that it ain't working.
And that's the thing. The more people that are waking up to this, the more people that are understanding that this massive problem that we're all going through is something that we're all going through, the more that we realize that we can change things, the more that we realize that maybe the person that I thought was my enemy isn't actually my enemy. Maybe that's somebody that I actually have a lot of things in common with. Maybe they are looking for the exact same things in life that I am. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the things that were guaranteed and enshrined in the founding documents of our nation. Why are these things so elusive now? Shouldn't they just be fundamental features of living or being a citizen in the United States? Apparently not. Apparently the only interests that matter, not just in America, but in the world right now, as the world sees a cost of living crisis, as the world sees a housing crisis, apparently the only interests that matter when it comes to policy, the only interests that matter when it comes to directing any kind of change in this country or in this world, are the interest of those who already have everything. And your desperation is being used against you. Your desperation is being used as a tool to silence you, because desperate people don't have time to call for change in an effective way. They're too busy trying to make money to pay rent. They're too busy trying to make money to make sure that their kids have health care, that their kids have food. They're too busy worried about simply surviving. It is a very powerful tool that the wealthy have used throughout history. So a good, stable, safe, and secure life, an equitable life for the American people, isn't something that is an interest for those who have everything in this country right now. Not when 75% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Not when over 60% of the country doesn't have $1,000 in its saving in case an emergency happens. Not for 40 million people in America right now, 16 million of which are children who don't know if they're going to be able to have food anymore, who don't know if hunger is going to be a normalized feature in their lives from now on. This country isn't for us. This country isn't for them. But what can we do? That's the real question. The more that people wake up, the more people see a commonality between the people, the more opportunity there is for the people to actually enact change. We need stronger unions in this country. We need stronger social safety nets in this country. We need to recognize that the wealth disparity in our country has caused massive social strife for the American people. And someone has to come out and say it, and I'll be the person who comes out and says, wealth redistribution in America is a necessary thing that has to happen sometime in the near future if this country is to remain. And not just this country, but there needs to be a global wealth redistribution. It just has to happen. The amount of assets that are in possession of the ultra rich, the amount of assets that are in the possession of corporations have locked out hundreds of millions or billions of people across this planet from any kind of progress in their life. They've reshaped economies to make it more unfair for normal people, and it needs to be stripped away from these powers. And you can talk about the free market, and you can talk about, the right to ownership and all that. And while I understand that, radical pragmatism is a thing that needs to come into the conversation at some point. The pragmatic decision would be to obtain a level of equity between the people that leads to the safety and security and stability of a nation. Because at some point, if you ignore that, then the result would be not just a decline, not just a disruption, but the slow and steady dismantling of our nation. And that is exactly what people are seeing right now. K-shaped recovery. The wealthy are wealthier than ever. We actually don't need the working class. We don't need the middle class. You're right, they don't. Right? Their economy relies on spending, but the people who are doing the spending in this country right now are the top 10%. The people who the taxes come from mostly are the top 10%. The bottom 90% of the country, they don't do very much spending. They don't pay very much taxes. So when the only thing that matters to your nation is money, when the only thing that matters to those who are in charge, the political class, who come from that culture of money, who come from that culture of profit, then there isn't any meaning, and then there isn't any need to actually move towards the interest of the people, because these people don't understand that. The vast majority of the people who exist in that power bracket, in that wealth bracket, have no concept of what life is for the average American person. They don't understand what a livable wage is. They look at the federal minimum wage and they're like, well, that's probably what a minimum wage is, because they just don't know. When you have a leader of the country right now, a leader of the free world, who thinks that the word groceries is an archaic term that he just found in a book somewhere, it's a massive goddamn problem for the rest of the world. We cannot continue to elect people who are so out of touch with the people, who are so out of touch with the needs of our nation. We cannot keep electing people who are only focused on personal legacy, what wars I can start, what wars I can win, what buildings I can have my name on, what enemies I can crush, and how I can consolidate power, not just for me, but for my children and my grandchildren. How can I set up a kind of pseudo-monarchy in a country that was built on the opposition of monarchy? Comes a point where it's got to stop, right? And people are waking up to it, and I love seeing it. I love seeing my blue-collar brothers waking up, because these are the most fierce lions, man. Let me tell you. As much as I love my bleeding hearts, as much as I love the empathetic, I'm glad to see more veterans waking up. I'm glad to see more blue-collar workers waking up. People with actual physical strength. People who don't mind, getting a little bit of a scrap. Gotta love seeing that, because those are the kind of people that you need. Because while there's no kind of violent revolution that I want to see in the United States, the threat of violence has to be there. It always has to be there, because the government can exist because it has a monopoly on violence. And perhaps it should have the monopoly on violence. But one of the things that have discouraged politicians from overreaching for so long is having a dangerous population. But the thing is, Americans aren't dangerous anymore. Most aren't. We're a soft breed of people now. We have a culture of cowardice. The ruggedness of Americans has been bred out of us by the commercialization of our culture over the past decades. We've grown long in the tooth, fat in the belly, and our cardio is dog shit. But it's still there. That spark is still there. And I'm glad to see people waking up to it. But I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. Interesting changes happening in the United States right now and across the world. And I'd like to see it lead to something. Because stuff is happening, right? We're seeing a disruption in politics right now. We're seeing a disruption in the collective consciousness of Americans right now. And it's a blip in the radar that I'm noticing, where there's a spark that can potentially lead to change here. The thing is, can we kindle that spark into a fire? because that's what we need to do. This country needs a great fire to purge itself. No, but it kind of, yeah, it does. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here at this point, like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. Hey, join us. Why not? Give a donation to the channel. Always helps. We don't do sponsorships. This channel runs off you guys, and we love you guys. But I'm hungry. It's Saturday, and Daddy's got to go eat. So thank you guys for stopping by. As always, try to enjoy the weekend. Keep your sanity. Love your neighbor. Get out there. Have some fun. Be the best people that you know you are, and treat people with the dignity and respect that you would expect them to treat you with. Man, I love you guys. I love this country. You guys take care.